The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. We are flying through the month of July. We are now more than halfway through it. We are on July 18th, and it's hard to believe less than a month from now will be the 14th anniversary of my very first Topic Time episode. And we have an awesome guest today. We're going to Detroit, Michigan for the first time. We're near there for the first time ever. Never gone to the state of Michigan on a Zoom show. But of course, before we get to my guest, we've got to read these incredible underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So, we have a Mulberry, the frozen yogurt in Rainham, very good yogurt. We have Royal Pizza in Rainham, very good pizza. We have Lynch's Towing, Auto, Cycle, and Truck Center in Brockton. One number for towing, one number for projects. My pal Lynchy there was always looking for new scrap metal, wheels, anything to do with transportation. He handles it all. We have One Good Credit in Brockton. We have Eli's Auto Care in Taunton. We have Boombox in Middleborough. We have Diesel Plus Unlimited in Whitman. We have Grant's Rental in Bridgewater. We have Doggy Boutique, all breed professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next door neighbor, Debbie Siddell in Brockton. We have RW Carpet and Flooring in Norton, covering floors for 50 years. We have Haven Psychiatric Services right here in the building. We have the Gunrunner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough, specializing in customer service, pricing, and selection. And we have Joe's Diner in Taunton. And I want to thank you guys very much. That's Joe's Diner in Taunton, as some now we're going to introduce Mr. David Swartz. That's what you go by, David? Dave, what is it?
Yeah, Dave's usually my typical moniker. Yeah.
Okay, Dave is a moniker, good moniker. Okay, and you told me that you created a comic book called The Frankenstein Meets the Civil War. Is that it? Frankenstein Meets the Civil War.
That's basically the premise. Yeah.
Okay.
The title of it is Confederate Monster. So.
Okay, so I guess Frankenstein was on the Confederate side.
Well, not entirely. The story is really more about the fact that all of the characters of Frankenstein are a little monstrous, including the villains who are the Confederacy.
Okay, now I just have a quick question about the content of the book in terms of, like, nowadays, there's so much stuff about PIC stuff and using racial overtones and things like that. I'm just wondering now with all the PIC innuendos that go with stuff that might seem like racially, controversial. I guess it doesn't matter. I suppose it's probably not. It's just imagination, right? Run wild.
Right. I mean, really, I'm using the Civil War as more of a backdrop, and the Confederacy as my villains. So it's not too dissimilar to history, from what we understand. So.
Okay.
I use it again more as a tool of just trying to show that everybody has a dark side, not just the villains, but my protagonists as well.
I understand. Okay. Well, you seem like you have a pretty good head for life and what makes it interesting. So what I do with every guest is I try to profile them and find out what they were like as younger people and how they got into doing what they were doing currently and what the future looks like. So tell me about yourself as a kid, and where did you grow up, and what were you doing? What were you aspiring to there? And we'll cover that little by little and then bring it forth to the future. Go ahead.
Sure. So, I started out in a suburb of Detroit, outside of, Southeast Michigan. So I, grew up like every kid, just, playing outside, building forts in my parents' backyard. I used to live surrounded in forests, so I have plenty of.
All right, hang on a second. I got to ask now. My father was actually born in Detroit, so I have a little Detroit in me. I've never been there, but from what I understand, Michigan is like part of a lot. It's very woodsy, but except for in Detroit itself, in Detroit proper, it's not. It's mostly, working class and often humble areas. But not where you were. I guess you lived in a nice area, right?
Oh yeah. I lived more in a suburb, so a little more foresty, a little more spread out, not as urban. With everybody tightly knit. And on top, I live actually about 10 minutes outside of Detroit right now, so I live more in the city now.
Okay.
But no, when I grew up more, as a suburbanite. Like I said, just going outside, playing outside. I never really played video games very much.
Okay.
So I
You were
mean,
an outdoorsy kid.
yeah, yeah, I just like the playing outside and doing things with my hands and playing with toys and doing drawing.
Tell me
Because
about that. You mentioned fort building. What kind of forts did you build with wood?
oh yeah, yeah. So like,
Wow.
just taking down trees and putting them together and
Huh.
covering them with the leaves and all kinds of stuff and just playing around that way, having fun.
Well, that's very illustrious of a kid, especially.
Oh yeah.
And that's
It was fun.
incredible that you did that. So he's obviously right. Just from hearing that, it tells me you had a creative side.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm always doing something. Comic books are sort of my main gig, but I think you can see behind me I do abstract painting and
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
sculpture
yeah.
and
Now that you
all kinds
mention
of
it,
stuff.
okay. Maybe a Picasso reinvented, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little
Okay.
bit.
Only abstract paintings, not you don't do like life paintings, but whatever works, I suppose. But I'm just
Yeah,
wondering.
yeah. I mean, I can.
Yeah.
I guess I prefer to do the abstract stuff
Okay.
because it is kind of very sort of loose and it doesn't need to be very rigid. And I draw comics all day and they're very tight. They have to be specific to a character and a background and a story.
So this is a
Whereas
little break from tight. I get it.
yeah,
I get
I
it.
mean,
Okay.
yeah. So I for abstract painting, it's just throwing paint at a canvas and kind of seeing where it goes, and then throw some more and see where that goes.
I
So it's a lot more
understand.
fun.
It is. So if yeah, I mean, it's all right. That's cool. Now, why did you? Now, where do you live in a studio apartment now? I don't know. I'm just wondering. It looks like you have a. It looks like that's your office that where you're living in. You say you're closer to the city now than you were as a kid. Is there a
Yep.
reason for that?
So I teach part time at the college that I went to in Detroit,
What college?
The College for Creative Study.
Okay, that's what
Yeah.
it's called. Okay,
Yep.
interesting. All right.
Yeah, so it's been around for quite a long time. Used to be called the Center of Creative Studies, but it changed to college, I think, probably about 30, 40 years ago. But yeah, I graduated from there in 2008, and
Okay.
I want to say about 6 years ago, I started teaching part-time there.
Oh.
So yeah, it's a nice little side gig, and I'm actually in the middle of teaching summer school there right now.
Oh, okay. That's right. It's certainly summertime. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, did you do anything else as a kid? I mean, you obviously did you do any music? Did you do any writing? I mean, you write the comic books. You do all your own illustrations. Is that so? Is that correct?
Yeah, I do it all. I write,
Okay.
I draw, I color, I letter, I market, I do it all. But no, when I was younger, I actually did play some music. I started out playing some saxophone in a band,
You look like
and
you could be a good sax player.
yeah, I love saxophone. It's very diverse. I
You
love the
have that
sound.
late night jazz club kind of look.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure,
Okay.
for
Yeah.
sure.
No question.
So
Okay.
then I transitioned into playing more rock and roll music. I was a guitarist for a long time. I was in a band in high school.
Okay.
So I kind of actually thought I was going to be a musician until I decided, yeah, I don't think so. I think I want to go to college and get a degree in something. And art seemed like a very logical pathway for me.
Well, all right. Well, you already. When did you realize you had art talent? Because as a kid, I wanted to be an artist too, and then I took a bunch of art classes and I sucked at all of them. Both in school and we have a very nice art center in our area now that opened in
Hmm.
1969. So in 1970, when I was in the fifth grade, I took an art course there with a guy that used to come around to our elementary school and teach us because he was an eccentric guy, but he was very good at art, and I always respected him. And I figured if anyone could bring out talent in me, it was him. And since I had none, he couldn't bring it out, so I just sort of gave up. But when did you figure out you had art talent?
I would say pretty young. I started drawing when I was about, I don't know. I mean, I really started drawing,
Yeah.
when I was about 8, 9 years old.
Okay.
Really, just taking the comic book pages that I really enjoyed out of my little collection of comic books and trying to draw them as close as I could to the original. And I actually, when I think I was about 8 years old, I did a drawing of Frankenstein,
Okay.
and my uncle, who introduced me to this whole world, just took the drawing and submitted it to Monster Magazine as a Frankenstein drawing competition.
Wow.
And I won second place, and they printed it in Monster Magazine
Now,
back in the early 90s.
in
So,
in the early 90s, and how old were you then?
like I said, I was about 8.
Eight.
I was born in
Wow.
'86, so yeah, it was probably about 92,
Yeah.
93, something like that.
That's incredible. Okay, so Well, obviously, there you go. So that was a revelation for you that you found out that that you had art talent because your uncle submitted your drawing to a contest. I guess would you have had the wherewithal to do it yourself if he hadn't? Would you have thought, maybe I can do something like this? You probably wouldn't have
Honestly,
done.
probably not.
Probably
I
not,
mean,
but that's okay. Obviously, everything happens for a reason. Okay, and ever since then, I guess you're a big fan of Frankenstein. Did you have any other comic books that you emulated? Or,
I think I'm always really interested in the classics like Superman, Batman,
okay,
X-Men. I when I first started comics 10 years ago, I did my own kind of superhero, which was kind of like Superman and Captain Marvel kind of put together a little bit.
okay.
A little bit of Doctor Strange too. So yeah, I've drawn a lot of inspiration from those classic superhero stories, but I think at this point in my career, I'm really just interested in broadening my horizons and trying out different types of stories.
Okay, well, when you say Doctor Strange, that's not short for Doctor Strangelover, is it? Remember Doctor
No,
Strange?
no, more the mystical, magical.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
I don't know if the comics. I mean, me and comics. I don't really. I like comic books. I wasn't a big collector, but I mean, the funniest comics I always thought were out of Mad Magazine.
Oh yeah.
Those guys were geniuses. And I don't know. Would you ever consider? I mean, but now let me ask you this: if you consider your comics comical or dark or both?
I would say they're more on the dark kind of serious side.
Okay.
At least I haven't yet gotten into more of the satirical side. However,
Oh,
I just kind of worked on a book where I was illustrating a comic that was a little more on the satirical side. So
okay.
I don't know. I think I'm kind of, like I said, broadening my horizon a little.
Okay. How many books have you turned out so far?
Well, man, in my career,
Yeah.
probably about for my own stories that I did all myself, I would say I've done about three. But as far as like drawing for other people, I mean, well over a dozen properties for sure, and each one of those is several issues long. So it
Okay.
takes about a year or so to get through a full series. Depending on how long it is.
All right. You just said drawing for other people. So other people actually hire you out to draw for them?
Yeah, that's my day job. That's basically
Wow.
how I make my money is I just get writers who are looking to have an illustrator illustrate their book,
Huh.
and they hire me to do it. And I've been doing that for about 3 years.
Okay. Uh-oh, you're freezing up. You are.
But I was freelance graphic design and things
All
like
right.
that. But now I'm full-time comics.
Oh, good. Wow. That's incredible. So would you say that what do you think the ratio of your drawing for other people is to your drawing for yourself? You think it's about 50-50 or even more?
No, I would say right now it's a more like 80-20. I think I devote more
To your
to
own.
the day job actually.
Yeah.
My own stuff, I only really devote a day a week to my own work. Mainly so that I can, just keep churning out work and
Yeah.
keep the lights on.
Exactly. Well, and now do you have anybody working for you with you? I mean, that produces that actually, presses out the comic books and distributes them. How do you do that?
So pretty much just hire outside vendors. So I have a publishing house
Okay.
here in the Michigan area that's actually I'm really fortunate in that one of the most well-known independent comic book publishers in the country is in my backyard.
Oh yeah, who's
Um,
that?
it's called Comics Wellspring.
Oh, I think I've heard of
Um,
him. Okay.
yeah, so they churn out a ton of comic books, and it's more convenient for me because I don't have to pay for shipping. I can just drive over there and pick them up.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's nice.
So you
Um,
pay them to finish the product, right?
yeah,
Basically.
to like print it all up and staple it all together and package it all up so that I can deliver it to my fans.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. And you say deliver it to your fans, you mean like in person?
No, no. So I primarily do like crowdfunders, like Kickstarter,
Oh, okay.
in order to sell the books. And as soon as I'm, done with selling them, I collect all the information for shipping and I ship them all out. So,
Wow. And okay, so you do mostly like UPS and stuff like that, how you distribute them. So
yep.
in other words, I wouldn't be able to walk into a Barnes and Noble and find one of your books, or would I?
At least not right now. I have a series that was published that was in many bookstores a couple
Okay.
years ago in 2020 and 2021.
So what
Uh,
happened?
the series just ended. It was a
Okay.
very short series. And honestly, after that experience, I kind of wanted to go back to self-publishing because there's just a little bit more control that I have over it.
Okay.
But no, yeah, I've done it both ways, and I think I've had success doing both.
Have you ever done any acting at all?
No, but I've done some like personal voice acting for my projects. So like my trailer that I put together for my current book, I did all the voice acting for it. I choreographed the whole thing. So
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after we watch David's clip.
Yeah. Where's my wife? Do you hear me? Dismount and walk forward.
Darling, you're home?
And waiting for you with loving arms.
Must you maul her like an animal, Daniel?
Calm yourself, Mrs. Stevenson. I'm just getting into character.
They both insisted upon hiring Daniel's patients to cater. I too thought it would look as unseemly as it does.
Is that all you discovered while befriending Mrs. Schmidt, my dear?
Dr. Schmidt fits the description of our target in nearly every way.
Oh, David, that was great. What did we just watch? Tell us what we just watched.
So I wanted to make more of a cinematic trailer for my comic. I thought it would be kind of fun to make it look more like a movie.
Okay.
So that was how I was inspired to put it together. But I had a ton of fun doing all the voices of the characters. I actually pulled in my wife to do some of the voices for the female characters.
Okay.
So that was fun putting it together, and just kind of adding some extra sound effects and music and things to make it really high production value.
Awesome. And how did you get the sound effects? I mean, and what about music? Did I hear music in there?
Yeah, so I actually got a few tracks produced from a friend of mine who is a music producer on the side.
Okay.
So he and I actually were in the band together that I mentioned earlier in high school. So I went the art route, he went the music route.
Okay.
So yeah, he helped me make those.
Oh, that is so cool. So basically now in terms of like, now that having been said, are you planning on maybe turning your comic work into maybe a film, or maybe a full-length film, or at some point?
I mean, if Netflix comes calling, I'm not going to say no. I think it would be very awesome to adapt this story.
I'm not talking about hiring actors out, getting say your wife does the voices, but getting a bunch of people to do you created you could create like a whole animated program that you could maybe up, have up on, you said Netflix, or even if you're not Netflix, just maybe try creating it and seeing if anyone wants to. You go with it and run with it. That's what I would suggest. That's just what I like.
Sure, actually,
sounds like you have the means to do this.
Yeah. I mean, one of the stretch goals I have for the campaign. So if we make a lot more money than I had anticipated, then I plan on doing kind of like an old school radio show reading of the entire issue. So I really hope we can do that. We'll see.
How much media coverage have you gotten out there so far? Have you got, if any? Just checking.
Oh man, I think I've done at least 24 different interviews between lives on YouTube and these podcast interviews. So yeah, I've been doing lots of promotion the last 3 weeks.
That's awesome. Now tell me about, you got a wife, you got kids?
I have a wife. I have 2 cats who are basically like little babies.
Oh, I know how they are. I know.
But yeah, no kids yet, but that is the plan.
Oh, good.
That is the plan.
Well, yeah, right. And plus, you have to time it out so that when you finally have to make the commitment to have kids, that you'll still have plenty of, you have to be able to budget your time so that you'll be able to do your other things too.
Don't I know it?
Oh, I
Don't
know,
it.
yeah. And you know what? And besides, there's no hurry for that. I mean, you're both young, I guess. You're only 38, right?
Yeah.
About
So
give or
we got
take.
time.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, there's no hurry for that.
Oh,
All
for
right,
sure.
so tell me about is that a house, an apartment you live in, or I mean, you do most of your work there. You don't even, except for your teaching, you pretty much do everything at home, or where else, or anywhere else.
So no, this is my home studio.
Okay.
So yeah, we have like a 3-bedroom house.
Okay.
My wife has her studio. I have my studio. So it's nice to have a room where I can close the door and just be by myself. The cats do come clawing at the
that's
door
awesome
every
when
once
the
in a
cats
while.
come and bother you. That's the best.
Yeah. But yeah,
They
I
slap them
just
upside the head, but they love that stuff.
right. So yeah, I just work out of here, and sometimes I'll pitch a tent in the backyard and do some painting outside or something. But
Well, that's
yeah,
awesome. Wow,
primarily.
you got a pretty darn good life over there.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty fun.
All right. Well, how many days a week do you teach at the college now? I know you're saying summer school. Is that 5 days a week?
Yeah, so summer school is like a 9 to 5, all day long.
Wow. Well, if you teach a
for
9 to 5, then did you teach today before you came home to do my show?
Yeah, I had to run home because I get done at 4 actually, so I had to run home and get prepared. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
so yeah, I'm teaching every day, Monday through Friday for the next 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
But it's like a little mini like art camp for the kids, so they stay
Well, that's
in
just
the
little kids at the
dorms.
college now. What are you talking about?
Yeah, at the college.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
I thought you said summer school. I thought you meant for the regular students there. You mean the children you're teaching too?
yeah, so this is actually more for like high schoolers that are
okay.
looking to go to the college,
Oh,
soon, but they're not quite there yet. So they take what's called a pre-college experience.
okay.
So it's like they come and they live in the dorms and they get to take a class for 3 weeks,
Yep.
and they get taught by actual college professors. And
That's
so, I teach a concept art class, so I'm
Okay.
teaching them how to do character development and environment building and all that fun stuff.
Do they come from all over the country? Because in the summer of 19, yeah, I figured that. I was actually not part of it, but in the summer of 1990, I did a writer's workshop up in the town of Bennington, Vermont.
Oh.
And during that summer, there were a lot of kids that were like going into their senior year of high school that came up there and they were just there to see what it was like to be away from home for a couple of weeks, because a lot of the kids, they were trying to get encouraged to get out on their own when, by the time, just out of high school, go right to college and don't stay home with mommy and daddy because it's not a healthy thing or whatever. But that's what they were doing. And it was nice. I met some nice kids from, doing that. Made some new friends, and I'm still friends with today. Some of them are on Facebook. I don't see them anymore because they're in different parts of the country. But during the regular year, do you also teach then as well at the college?
Yeah, so I do teach, the regular semester. Typically I'm only there 2 days a week.
Oh, okay. So it's like you said, it's part-time, but you get the rest of the time to do your other stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes the schedule doesn't work out so well. So sometimes I'm there 4 days a week, but just, a very short period of time.
Okay.
But now, I've worked there for a few years, so I can kind of have a little bit more say in the classes that I get.
That's awesome.
So I try to condense it down so I'm only there for 2 days a week. That way I can just focus on other things for those other days.
Maybe someday you'll be the dean. You think that could happen?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe a department head or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many years you been there now? I mean, you said you were a student there, and that was what? That was like in 2008 you graduated?
Yeah,
So 16 years ago. So you're no stranger to them, obviously.
Yeah. So it's been a long time, but I've been teaching there for about 6 years now.
Wow. Okay. It sounds like you got tenure already. That's great.
Almost.
Okay. As far as have you traveled around the country with your work, going to GoFundMe's around different parts of the U.S.?
So when I first started, yeah, I did. I
okay.
went to a lot of shows. I drove myself to Colorado, to Virginia,
Wow.
Chicago,
Okay.
a bunch of different places. And so I did that for a little while, but I think I'm kind of at a point now where I have a good fan base,
Okay.
and I don't feel like I need to do that as much. I do some shows locally. I do some pop-up shows, signings here and there when I can.
Okay.
But the schedule's a little busy now. So I try not to travel too much either anymore.
Okay. It sounds like you don't really need to travel. It sounds like it sounds like you got it going on. And on that note, we're down to the final 5 minutes of the show. I hope you had fun talking to me.
Oh yeah, this has been great.
Okay, so what I want you to do now, just first of all, is there anything coming up on? I like to make sure we cover everything. Is there anything coming up on the horizon, and then between now and the end of the summer that you want to mention that you might have overlooked? I just want to make sure we cover everything. If not, that's fine. But
no, I mean, I will just say, I'm excited to finish up this Kickstarter for the latest issue of Confederate Monster. It's been a couple of years since I've been able to get back to this story.
Okay.
So I'm really happy that I can finish it up and get the last couple issues out there.
All right, great. Now, if you had a good time with me, what I'd like you to do, if you know any, well, actually, you know what? Since we arranged the interview through Jeffrey Haas, so I guess it's not likely that you're going to be able to find me anybody. But if there's somebody that you think might be a good guest for my show, refer them to Jeffrey, and he'll set something up, and we can get them on.
Yeah, for sure. No,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Now, I have one last request. When we wrap the show up, would you stick around on my tech guy? Are you on Facebook, by the way?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. Maybe what I can do is I can friend request you on Facebook. Just Dave Swartz in Michigan.
Yep.
I know
Should
what
be
you
able
look
to find
like
me pretty
now.
good.
Okay. And then I can, if you accept the friend request, then I can tag you in the picture. Are you okay sticking around and let my tech guy do a pic for Facebook then?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, you did a wonderful job. I'm very impressed by what you have here. That's incredible, and it looks like you're going. It looks like I mean, obviously, I guess we discussed what the future looks like. So you're obviously that's set in stone right now. But we'll see what happens. We're not really set in stone, but you sort of have an idea what you want to do. But we'll find out soon enough as time goes on. The way things are going, I'm sure whatever you do, you'll find more impressive events that you'll be taking hold of. As your career flourishes, which it seems to be doing, and that will just continue to.
That's the hope. That's the hope.
All right, we're going to wrap the show up. Are you ready to snap away like we did at the beginning?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, folks, thanks for watching another great episode of Topic Time. All right, hang on. And see you next week with another great show.